March 27, 1948, 8:45 p.m., backstage at Carnegie Hall. Billie Holiday stood in front of a mirror, trying to cover the needle marks on her arms. The makeup artist asked anxiously, "Billie, are you sure you want to go on stage?" Billie didn't answer, just put on her long-sleeved gloves. At that moment, in the back rows of the hall, two FBI agents sat with notebooks ready, eyes on Billie. The order given to the agents was clear: watch, record, don't arrest. Yet, 72 hours later, Billie Holiday would be arrested by federal agents, spend 10 months in prison. Her career would be destroyed. But what happened that night at Carnegie Hall was written in golden letters in music history. So how could a woman give one of history's most magnificent performances on the very edge of collapse? And why didn't the FBI arrest her that very night? If you enjoyed this story and don't want to miss the untold details of critical moments in Billie Holiday's career, please don't forget to subscribe. Now let's discover exactly what happened at Carnegie Hall on the night of March 27, 1948, why the FBI waited, and how Billie lived while dying. March 24, 1948. Federal Narcotics Bureau Chief Harry Anslinger had been targeting Billie for years and now believed enough evidence had been gathered. The file had dozens of pages of witness statements, undercover agent reports, evidence obtained from hotel room searches. Anslinger pounded the table. "It's time to finish Billie Holiday, but we need to do it smartly." The strategy was simple: catch Billie at her weakest moment, create maximum media impact, intimidate other artists. The March 27 evening Carnegie Hall concert was a perfect opportunity. But Anslinger made a different plan. Not at the concert, catch her 3 days later, let her go on stage, let her perform, then strike. The collapse will be more dramatic. This wasn't just an arrest strategy, it was psychological warfare. Anslinger had seen Billie Holiday as his personal enemy for years. The song Strange Fruit had angered him. Billie's political stance bothered him. But most of all, Billie's resistance irritated him. Years of pressure, threats, surveillance, searches, and Billie was still on stage, still singing. Anslinger had decided the time had come to break this. The post-Carnegie Hall arrest was deliberate because the psychological blow would be maximum. You perform on the world's most prestigious stage, 3 days later you're in jail. The message to everyone was clear: nobody is untouchable. FBI agents started following Billie on the morning of March 27. When she left her hotel at 9 in the morning, she was being followed. When she went to rehearsal at noon, she was being followed. When she arrived at Carnegie Hall in the evening, she was being followed. Agents were taking notes. Subject appears tired, possibly under the influence of drugs, unsteady gait. But the agents had also noticed something. Billie knew. She was aware she was being followed, aware of the arrest threat. As one agent wrote in his report, "Subject constantly looking around, doesn't appear panicked but anxious, knows she's going on stage, but also knows what comes next." Billie Holiday wasn't just going to Carnegie Hall to perform. Perhaps she was going for her last concert as a free woman. Billie's close friend and pianist that night, Bobby Tucker, had seen Billie's condition at morning rehearsal and was shocked. Billie looked really bad. She'd lost a lot of weight, dark circles under her eyes, hands were shaking. During rehearsal, she stopped several times, seemed like she couldn't breathe. I said, "Billie, cancel the concert, you look sick." She looked at me and said, "Bobby, this concert has to happen. Maybe it's my last concert." Bobby didn't understand at the time, but Billie knew. The FBI was coming. Time was running out. And Billie wanted to be Lady Day one last time at Carnegie Hall. Not sick, broken, collapsed Billie Holiday. Carnegie Hall's backstage was filled with the usual pre-concert bustle. Musicians were tuning their instruments, technicians were doing sound checks, organizers were reviewing final details. But in Billie Holiday's dressing room, time seemed frozen. Billie was looking in the mirror, and the sight was painful. A 33-year-old woman, but looking 45, exhaustion marks on her face, deep pain in her eyes, depletion in her body. She looked at her arms, needle marks, bruises, scars. She'd been using heroin for years, and her body was paying the price. She had to hide these marks because audiences expected Lady Day to be perfect, not broken. Makeup artist Maria had worked for hours, smoothing the face with dark powder, covering under-eye circles, adding color to lips. but the arms were a problem. When Maria asked anxiously, "Billie, these marks won't cover, what are you going to do?" Billie pulled out long black gloves from a drawer. The stage costume was a white satin dress, and the gloves didn't match stylistically, but there was no other choice. Billie put on the gloves, looked at her reflection in the mirror. The gloves weren't just hiding needle marks, they were hiding Billie's shame, because deep down, Billie was disgusted with herself, a magnificent voice, but a destroyed body, a legendary artist, but an addicted woman. There was a knock at the door. The stage manager stuck his head in. "Billie, you need to be on stage in 15 minutes. Are you ready?" Billie nodded, but she wasn't ready. Physically sick, emotionally exhausted, mentally paranoid. Was the FBI there? Were there agents among the audience? Would she be arrested after the concert? Billie didn't know the answers to these questions, but felt something bad was going to happen. Bobby Tucker came in, touched Billie's shoulder. "Hey, everything's fine, just sing, forget the rest." Billie tried to smile, but her eyes filled. "Bobby, if this is my last concert, if I can never go on stage again, tonight has to be perfect." Bobby didn't understand. "Why would it be your last concert?" Billie didn't answer, because some things shouldn't be said. 8:40 p.m. Billie was left alone in the dressing room. She took a deep breath, looked in the mirror one last time. It was time to become Lady Day. Billie Holiday, the sick, addicted, frightened woman, had to be set aside. Lady Day had to go on stage, strong, proud, untouchable. Billie closed her eyes. The internal transformation began. This wasn't just a performance, it was a survival mechanism. Under the stage lights, Billie Holiday could disappear. Lady Day could emerge, and maybe that night, one last time, Billie could escape the pain. But in the back rows of the hall, two men had prepared notebooks and were waiting. The FBI was ready to watch Billie. 8:50 p.m. Carnegie Hall's main auditorium was overflowing. 2,800 people had come to see Billie Holiday. Jazz enthusiasts, music critics, society names, famous artists. Everyone was excited because Billie Holiday was singing at Carnegie Hall, the stage every artist dreams of. The audience didn't know, but this was Billie's second Carnegie Hall concert. The first had been in 1946 and had been a great success. Now 2 years later she was there again, but this time everything was different. In 1946 Billie was a rising star, now she was a falling meteor. In 1946 there was hope for the future, now there was fear of arrest. In the back rows of the hall, on the right side, two men sat quietly. They were wearing suits, had taken out notebooks, their faces expressionless. FBI agents James Davis and Robert Greene. Their mission was simple: watch Billie Holiday, record her performance, analyze her behavior, gather evidence that she was under the influence of drugs. Agent Davis wrote in his notebook, 8:50 p.m., audience full, subject hasn't come on stage yet, arrest planned for 3 days from now, but tonight's observation is critical. Agent Greene looked around. There are recognizable names in the audience, media here, this will make the arrest big. The two agents smiled. Billie Holiday's career was about to end, and they were watching it. But the agents weren't aware of something. That night at Carnegie Hall, there wouldn't just be a concert, there would be an act of resistance. Billie Holiday would go on stage, instead of bowing to pressure. While the FBI watched, she would sing. While arrest waited, she would perform. And history would record this moment. Not the FBI's notes, but Billie's voice would be recorded. But nobody knew yet. The audience was waiting excitedly. The agents were watching coldly. And behind the stage, Billie Holiday was taking one last breath. 8:55 p.m. The lights dimmed. The hall went silent. The curtain stirred. And then the spotlight lit up. A figure walking onto the stage appeared. White satin dress, black gloves, gardenia flower in her hair. Billie Holiday. No, Lady Day. The audience started applauding, gave a standing ovation, whistled. Agent Davis took notes. Subject came on stage. Physical condition appears weak but able to stand. Agent Greene added, wearing long-sleeved gloves, probably to hide needle marks. While the agents continued messaging, in the middle of the stage, Billie Holiday approached the microphone. Her hands were trembling, but there was a smile on her face. She looked at the audience, took a deep breath, and sang the first note. The hall changed instantly, because that voice, that divine, broken, deep voice, filled Carnegie Hall's walls. She opened with Strange Fruit, the boldest choice, the riskiest song. While the FBI watched, while arrest waited, the song Billie Holiday chose was a protest song about black people being lynched. This wasn't a coincidence. It was a message. I'm not afraid. I'm not silent. I'm fighting. Agent Davis took notes. Subject, singing strange fruit. Clear provocation. But Davis didn't understand. This wasn't provocation. It was an existential cry. When the first song ended, the audience was silent. After Strange Fruit, there was no applause because you couldn't applaud. The song was too heavy, too deep. A few seconds of silence, then explosive applause, standing ovation. Billie leaned into the microphone, said thank you. Her voice was raspy. She moved to the next song, Don't Explain, and then God Bless the Child, and then Lover Man. Something was happening with each song. Billie Holiday was slowly transforming. She still looked physically sick, but vocally she was getting stronger, as if singing gave her energy. Pain was decreasing, fear was disappearing. Bobby Tucker was watching Billie from the piano and was shocked. During rehearsal, Billie was about to collapse, but on stage a miracle happened. Her voice got progressively stronger. Her performance got progressively deeper. It was like the stage was healing her. Indeed, on stage Billie was in a different dimension. In daily life, a sick addict. But on stage, a legendary artist. This duality was Billie's tragedy, but also her salvation. Because the stage was an escape from pain, liberation from pressure, a moment of being yourself. And that night, Billie was experiencing this when she needed it most. Among the audience sat music critic Leonard Feather, taking notes on what was happening. The review he would write in the newspaper the next day would be this: on the night of March 27, at Carnegie Hall, we witnessed history. Despite Billie Holiday being physically collapsed, she was vocally at her peak. Each song was like a confession. Each note was like a scream. This wasn't just a concert. This was an act of survival, a resistance manifesto. Feather didn't know that night, but Billie would be arrested 3 days later, and his review would be one of the last records of Billie's freedom. As the concert progressed, something else happened. Billie removed her gloves. After 10 songs in the middle of the stage, under the spotlight, Billie slowly removed her gloves. Her arms were exposed. Needle marks, bruises, scars. Some in the audience saw, some didn't. But Billie wasn't hiding anymore, because tonight was the night of truth. Billie Holiday was living while dying, rising while collapsing, revealing while hiding, and FBI agents in the back rows were taking notes. Subject removed gloves, visible needle marks on arms. Agent Green whispered to Agent Davis, "She's confessing herself." But Davis was wrong. This wasn't confession, it was defiance. 10:30 p.m., the concert was approaching its finale. Billie Holiday approached the microphone to sing the last song. She'd been on stage for 2 hours, had sung 15 songs, should have been physically exhausted, but there was fire in her eyes. The last song would be I Cover the Waterfront, slow, melancholic, deep. When Billie started singing, the hall went silent instantly, because that voice, that indescribable, ineffable voice, mesmerized everyone. Billie was singing each word with special weight, screaming each note like a cry, as if this was her last chance, as if she could never go on stage again, and indeed it was. When the song ended, the hall exploded. Standing ovation, whistles, screams. 2,800 people were paying respect to Billie Holiday. Billie stood on stage, looked at the audience, her eyes filled with tears. She wasn't crying, but emotion was choking her. This moment was everything, the culmination of decades of work, suffering, struggle, and Billie knew this moment was temporary. Tomorrow reality would come, the FBI would come, arrest would come, but this moment would last forever. In recordings, in memories, in the pages of history, Billie leaned into the microphone, said thank you all so much. Her voice was broken, raspy, but it came from the heart. Then she left the stage, the curtain closed. The audience was still applauding, but Billie was gone. Backstage she collapsed. Bobby Tucker ran. "Billie, are you okay?" Billie laughed. "I'm fine, Bobby. Finally I'm fine." Bobby didn't understand, but Billie did. That night she'd proven herself. Despite the pressures, despite the illness, despite the FBI, Lady Day was still there, still strong, still alive. Agents Davis and Green were leaving the hall. As Davis closed his report, he said she'll be arrested in 3 days. It'll be over. Green nodded. Yes, her end has come, but they were wrong, because what happened that night would never end. The Carnegie Hall concert would become history, would be recorded as the peak of Billie Holiday's career. The FBI could arrest her 3 days later, throw her in prison for 10 months, try to destroy her career, but that night's defiance, that performance, that miracle, could never be erased. March 30, 1948, 7 a.m. There was a knock on Billie Holiday's hotel room door. Billie was asleep, tired, hadn't been able to shake off the exhaustion from the Carnegie Hall concert for 3 days. When she opened the door, 4 federal agents stood facing her. Agent Davis, the man who sat in the back row at Carnegie Hall, showed his ID. Billie Holiday, you're under arrest for possession and use of heroin. Billie wasn't shocked. She knew, she'd been waiting, she just asked, now. Davis said coldly, yes, now. Billie held out her hands, handcuffs were put on. She was taken out of her hotel room, led down the stairs, put in the car waiting outside. Hotel staff watched in shock. The legend who had performed at Carnegie Hall 3 days ago was now being taken away in handcuffs. The media immediately sprang into action. By afternoon, the newspaper headlines were clear. Billie Holiday arrested, jazz star in custody for drug charges, Lady Day's fall. The FBI had gotten what it wanted, maximum media impact, public scandal, message to other artists. When Billie Holiday appeared in court, she pleaded guilty. Her lawyer had said to fight it, but Billie had said no, I don't want to fight, I want to finish it. The judge gave a sentence of 10 months in prison. Billie was sent to Alderson Federal Prison. She stayed there for 10 months, not as a jazz legend, but as prisoner 79651. Her cabaret card was revoked, meaning she was banned from singing in New York clubs. Her career was effectively destroyed. The FBI seemed to have won. But history recorded something else. Because the March 27, 1948 Carnegie Hall concert became legendary. Recordings were made, records were released, generations listened to that concert. Music critics said Billie Holiday's best performance. Even though Billie was in prison, her voice was free, her art was living, her legacy was being built. The FBI could imprison Billie's body, but couldn't imprison her voice. March 28, 1948 morning. When Billie Holiday woke up in her hotel room, her body ached. Last night's performance had physically consumed her, standing for 2 hours, singing 15 songs, performing in front of thousands of people, but at the same time she was spiritually satisfied, because that night she'd proven herself. Even though she was sick, even though she was addicted, even though she was under FBI surveillance, she was still Lady Day, still magnificent, still able to live on stage. But now, in the morning light, reality was returning mercilessly. The FBI would come, maybe today, maybe tomorrow, but they would come. Billie knew this. She read the morning newspapers. The reviews were magnificent. Billie Holiday delivers historic performance at Carnegie Hall. Lady Day creates legendary night. Billie Holiday at career peak. Leonard Feather's review was particularly moving. The night of March 27 wasn't just a concert, it was the moment of art's victory over oppression. Despite Billie Holiday being physically collapsed, she delivered a divinely vocal performance. The strength inside this woman is greater than the weakness the system has imposed on her. Billie folded the newspaper and set it aside. Feather was right, but he didn't know half the story. Billie wasn't just physically collapsed, she was psychologically shattered. And the FBI wasn't just following her, they were trying to destroy her. That morning Bobby Tucker called, Billie, last night was magnificent. Everyone's talking about you. New concert offers are coming in. Billie listened quietly. Bobby was excited. Billie, this is a turning point. After Carnegie Hall, everything will change. Bigger venues, better money, more recognition. Billie smiled, but it was bitter. Bobby, if I'm still free 3 days from now, we'll talk. Bobby was surprised. What do you mean? Billie didn't answer, because telling Bobby meant putting Bobby in danger too. The FBI wasn't just targeting Billie, they were watching everyone around her. Billie was fighting alone, and would fall alone. March 29, 1948. She was sitting in the hotel lobby, having coffee, looking out the window. On the street, normal life continued. People going to work, children running to school, cars passing. But Billie's world seemed frozen. Time had slowed down. Every hour felt like a day. She was waiting for the FBI. She didn't want them to come, but waiting was worse. Uncertainty was the worst form of fear. Billie thought, maybe they won't come, maybe they just want to scare me, maybe I'm wrong. But deep down she knew, the FBI would come, only the timing was uncertain. That day, Tallulah Bankhead called. Her ex-lover, still her friend, still her supporter. Billie, I heard about your Carnegie Hall performance. It was magnificent, but I'm worried. Is the FBI watching you? Billie told the truth. Yes, Tallulah, and they'll be coming soon. Tallulah asked in panic. When? How do you know? Billie explained in a calm voice. They were there during the concert. 2 agents, in the back rows, taking notes. I saw them, and I know. They waited because they wanted it to be dramatic. An arrest after Carnegie Hall is more effective. Tallulah angrily shouted, This isn't fair. Billie laughed bitterly. Tallulah, the FBI doesn't care about fairness. They care about power, and I challenged them. I sang Strange Fruit. I stood on stage. I showed resistance. Now I have to pay the price. Tallulah insisted, Run, Billie. Leave the city. Go somewhere else. Billie shook her head. Where would I run? The FBI is everywhere, and running means looking guilty. No, I'll stay. They'll come. I'll be arrested. But at least I'll stand with honor, upright. Tallulah cried. I don't want to lose you. Billie said in a soft voice. Tallulah, I was already lost. Now I'm just officially losing. She hung up the phone. The silence in the room was suffocating. The FBI would come the next morning. Billie was ready. Even if she wasn't, she had to be ready. 6:45 a.m. Billie Holiday was in deep sleep. She was dreaming. She was on stage at Carnegie Hall, singing. The audience was applauding. But the dream was suddenly cut off. Violent door knocking. Billie jumped awake. Her heart was beating fast. The door was knocked again, this time harder. A voice was heard. Open up, federal agents. Billie's breath caught. It came. Finally it came. She looked at the clock. 6:47. 3 days, 21 hours, 2 minutes. The time that had passed since the Carnegie Hall concert. The FBI had calculated, timed, now was executing. Billie got out of bed, put on her robe, walked to the door. She took a deep breath, opened the door. 4 men stood there, 4 federal agents, dark suits, cold faces, documents in hand. Agent James Davis, the man who sat in the back row at Carnegie Hall, stepped forward, showed his ID. I'm Federal Agent James Davis. Are you Billie Holiday? Billie nodded. Davis continued. You're under arrest for possession and use of heroin. Your rights are as follows. Billie didn't listen as he read the rights, because she knew these rights meant nothing. The FBI had made a decision, and Billie's legal rights couldn't change that decision. Davis finished, then asked, Is there any illegal substance in your room? Billie answered, I don't know, search if you want. The agents entered the room, started a methodical search. Every drawer was opened, every jacket was searched, every bag was emptied. 15 minutes later, an agent found a small bag. Inside was a small amount of heroin powder. Agent Davis held up the bag. What is this? Billie looked silently, didn't object, didn't lie, just silently accepted. What you say it is. Davis nodded. Okay, get dressed. We're going to the station. Billie got dressed, the simple dress, shoes, jacket, didn't put on makeup, didn't comb her hair, because she wasn't Lady Day anymore. She was arrested Billie Holiday. When she was ready, the agents took her out. In the hotel corridor, other guests were looking from their doors. Whispers, shocked faces, curious eyes. Billie held her head high, kept her eyes forward, walked with dignity. In the elevator there was silence. When they came down to the lobby, hotel staff froze. The legend who had sung at Carnegie Hall 3 days ago was now being taken away between agents. Outside, a black car was waiting. Billie was put in the back seat. 2 agents sat next to her. The car started moving. Billie looked out the window. New York was waking up in the morning light. People were continuing their normal lives, but Billie's life had now shattered. When the car arrived at the federal building, the media was already there. Cameras, photographers, reporters. The FBI had notified them in advance. For maximum media effect, Billie was taken out of the car. Flashes exploded. Questions poured. Billie, what do you say about the charges? Are you guilty? Will the Carnegie Hall concert be your last concert? Billie didn't answer, just walked. The agents took her inside. In the federal courtroom, Billie Holiday sat in the defendant's chair. The judge in front, the prosecutor, the side, her lawyer next to her. But Billie felt alone, because this court wasn't about justice. It was about sending a message. Harry Anslinger from the Federal Narcotics Bureau had written a letter to the court. Billie Holiday is not a drug user. She's a drug advocate. Her lifestyle, songs, image lead youth astray. Exemplary punishment should be given. This letter had been added to the court file. As the prosecutor read the letter, Billie's lawyer objected. My client is a singer. The charges are unrelated to her music career. But the judge rejected the objection. In this court, not only charges, but character is also evaluated. The prosecutor read the indictment. Billie Holiday, illegal drugs were found in her hotel room on March 30th, 1948. Also, according to witness statements, she is a regular user. The lawyer made a defense. My client is sick, needs treatment, not punishment. But the prosecutor objected. The defendant was warned years ago, didn't change. Multiple chances were given, lost them. Now it's punishment time. The judge listened, took notes, then announced his decision. Defendant Billie Holiday is found guilty. Sentenced 10 months in federal prison. Mandatory participation in treatment program. Cabaret card revoked. The gavel was struck. Billie's fate was sealed. Billie said nothing, didn't shed tears, didn't scream, didn't object, just stood up. Handcuffs were put on. She was taken out. The media was there again. Headlines were being written. Billie Holiday gets 10-month prison sentence. Lady Days fall, the end of a jazz star. But these headlines didn't reflect the truth. Because Billie wasn't falling mourn, she was being felled by the system. Billie wasn't ending mourn, she was being silenced. And the cabaret card revocation wasn't just a punishment, it was career murder. Because without a cabaret card, Billie couldn't sing in New York clubs, couldn't earn income, couldn't sustain her life. May 1948. Alderson Federal Prison, West Virginia. Billie Holiday became prisoner number 79651. The legendary Lady Day was gone. There was only a prisoner, lying in a cell, eating prison food, attending mandatory treatment program. The first weeks were the hardest. Heroin, withdrawal, physical pain, psychological collapse. Billie was shaking, sweating, crying, but worst was the silence. Because in prison there was no music, no stage, no applause, just walls, bars, silence. And Billie suffered for the first time in her life from not being able to sing. As months passed, physical detox was completed, but psychological trauma continued. Billie didn't talk with other prisoners, stayed alone, cried at night. The prison psychologist noted, prisoner 79651 is depressed, in social isolation, resistant to treatment. The psychologist tried to meet with Billie. Billie, how are you feeling? Billie was silent for a long time, then whispered, nothing, I don't feel anything anymore. The psychologist asked, what do you think about music? Billie's eyes filled, music is over. The FBI won, I'm finished. But Billie was wrong, because something was happening outside. The Carnegie Hall concert recordings had been released and were achieving great success. People were listening to that concert, missing Billie, waiting for her to return. Letters were coming to the prison. We miss you, Billie. Come out and sing again. You're a legend. Don't forget. When Billie read these letters, she cried, because outside people loved her, but inside she was alone, broken, finished. 10 months passed slowly. In March 1949, Billie Holiday was released. When she walked out the prison gates, the media was there again. But this time the questions were different. Billie, will you come back? Will you sing again? Will you give performances, like the Carnegie Hall concert? Billie answered with a tired smile, I don't know, I hope so. But I don't have a cabaret card, so I can't sing in New York. A reporter asked, so what will you do? Billie shrugged, I'll try to survive. And she walked. She was free, but not free, because the wound the FBI had inflicted would never heal. Years later, when Billie Holiday died in 1959, when music critics debated her best performance, they always came to the same concert. March 27, 1948, Carnegie Hall. The performance recorded that night, became one of jazz history's milestones. Why? Because that night wasn't just music, it was an act of resistance and survival. Billie Holiday had created a miracle on the edge of collapse, and this miracle would echo forever. Music historian John Sebs stated in his 2015 Billie Holiday biography, the March 27, 1948, Carnegie Hall concert was the turning point of Billie's career. That night, Billie didn't just sing, she proved her existence. While the FBI took notes in the back rows, Billie was writing history on stage, and the result was clear. The FBI's notes were forgotten in archives. Billie's voice spread to the world. This observation captured the true meaning of the Carnegie Hall concert, because that night, Billie won against the system, not physically, but artistically. Today, Carnegie Hall concert recordings are used as teaching material in music schools. Young singers are taught, this is how you sing, this is how you show resistance, this is how you make art. Billie Holiday's performance that night wasn't technically perfect. Her voice sometimes broke, her breath sometimes wasn't enough, but emotionally, it was flawless. Because every note was real, every word had been lived, every song was a confession. And this authenticity, this raw reality, touched listeners, still touches. Pianist Bobby Tucker never tired of telling about that night until the end of his life. At every music festival, every interview, every memoir, he talked about Carnegie Hall. That night, Billie taught me this. The power of art comes not from perfection, but from reality. Billie was a sick woman, but a real artist, and real art can never be destroyed. Tucker's words inspired a new generation of musicians, because the Carnegie Hall concert wasn't just an event that remained in the past, it was still an act of teaching, still a living legacy. FBI agents James Davis and Robert Greene never understood the historical significance of that night. For them, it was just another assignment, another target, another report. They retired in the 1950s, died in the 1970s, and nobody remembered them, but everyone remembered Billie Holiday. And this was justice manifesting itself, even if late. The FBI succeeded in arresting Billie. Mefern, Inger's story, Billie's voice, art, legacy, and history recorded this. Billie won, the FBI lost. But the miracle that happened at Carnegie Hall on the night of March 27, 1948, was this: living while dying, rising while collapsing, screaming while being. Holiday knew she would be arrested in 72 hours, but still went on. The FBI was watching, but she still sang Strange Fruit. The system was trying to break her, but she still stood. And this courage, this resistance, this incredible strength, this is Billie Holiday's true legacy. Today, when you go to Carnegie Hall, the night of March 27, 1948, still lives there. That hall, that stage, that acoustic all remember that night. And every time a jazz concert is held there, Billie's spirit is there. Because Billie Holiday wasn't just a singer, she was part of Carnegie Hall's soul. And that night, that miracle night, this soul was sealed forever. When Billie Holiday died in 1959, according to official records, she had lived a failed life. Drug addiction, prisons, financial problems, early death. But the real story was very different. Billie Holiday fought against the system and won, not immediately, but eventually. The FBI arrested her, but couldn't silence her. The system imprisoned her, but couldn't destroy her. Society judged her, but couldn't forget her. And the March 27, 1948, Carnegie Hall concert was the greatest proof of this. That night, Billie Holiday was strongest at her weakest moment. Despite being sick, she went on stage. Despite being watched, she sang. Despite arrest waiting, she performed. And this courage, this defiance, this incredible resistance was rewarded by history. The Carnegie Hall concert became legendary. Billie Holiday won, the FBI remained, only in history's footnotes. Real victory isn't always immediately visible. Sometimes it takes years, sometimes generation, but in the end truth emerges. And Billie Holiday's truth was this: she was a warrior, a survivor, a legend. The FBI watched her for 3 days, then arrested her. But in those 3 days, Billie made history, and this couldn't be erased by any arrest, any prison sentence, any system. The night of March 27, 1948, wasn't just a concert, it was a manifesto, an act of resistance.
But
A moment of victory. Billie Holiday said to the system that night, "I'm here, I'm still singing, I'm still alive, I'm still Lady Day, and you can never destroy me." And she was proven right. Because today, when you listen to that concert, Billie Holiday is
but
still on stage, still singing, and the FBI, just in the dusty pages of history, a forgotten footnote. This is the real miracle. This is the real victory. And this is Billie Holiday's immortal legacy.